Scaling your window cleaning business fast sounds amazing until it nearly breaks your company. Most people will tell you about the upside, more jobs, more trucks, more money, but here's what they won't tell you. You could burn through the margins, hire the wrong people, and end up with a bigger mess than when you started. I know because we lived it. In this video, I'm gonna go in depth in my story and give you the raw and honest truth about my come up, so you don't have to experience all the growing pains I endured. I'm Austin. I started H2O Bros, a window cleaning company out here in Palm Beach, Florida. We're on track to do over 7 figures in just 2 years in business. Everyone teaches you how to grow, but almost no one teaches you how to scale without losing control. So I'm gonna walk you through all the mistakes that I made when I scaled H2O Bros and how I would do them if I had to do them all over again. So one of the biggest things and the overarching theme with all of this is spending too much money and not having enough margins to compensate. So let's start out with the first mistake, which was buying too much equipment too fast. So when I first started H2O Bros, I was in love with doing more revenue. And doing more revenue in window cleaning, you need more equipment, more technicians, more jobs to get done in a day. So I made a goal. That first year in business, I wanted to do 10,000 more than I did the month before. And that's all I cared about. So once we hired one cleaner, we're like, oh, we can fill his schedule in a couple hours. So then we hired 2 cleaners. Got another set of equipment. And then we just did that until we had 4 or 5 cleaners. And next thing we knew, we had over $20,000 spent in window cleaning equipment in just under 6 months in business. Our thought process was we can make our money back. This equipment will make money. So it's just an investment in the business. Only to come to find when we experienced our first slow month with rain and a bunch of other external factors that we couldn't control, it got dicey. We had expenses through the roof. We had bills that were coming up. And we had no jobs that were coming in. And some of this equipment we were spending with money we didn't even have, putting it on business credit cards and sometimes even personal credit cards. So if I were to go back in time and do that all over again, I would only be buying equipment with the actual cash I had at hand. And also, I was careless with what we were spending. So each DI tank, we were getting the full residential kit. It was $3,000 per setup. We were buying them like it was candy. And so what I would also recommend is not every cleaner needs a full residential kit setup. I would start out by just getting one of those setups and then getting by with soap, squeegee, bucket, and extendable poles that aren't expensive. In many instances with window cleaning, soap, squeegee, and a bucket may even be better. And now I've seen even window cleaning companies that don't even use a deionized water tank, and they have great service. So I would say you just need 1 DI tank for every 2 cleaners that you're going to bring on. Have one have the full residential kit setup. He could be doing bigger jobs, 2-story homes, and then have your other cleaner with the soap, squeegee, and bucket. He could be on more of the small, medium homes. There's no sense in getting a residential kit for each cleaner. Also, having one cleaner trained up with traditional way of cleaning windows is really, really vital for when you start doing interior window cleaning. It's a great upsell. And if you have a cleaner that can do it, you can bang out higher ticket jobs with ease. So a good indicator for when you should buy that next deionized water tank setup is when you've written out all your monthly expenses that are coming up, and then all the investments that you could be making. Actually do this as an exercise. Write down every recurring bill that's happening, every new expense that's coming up, and then write down everything you can invest in the business. It could be paying the cleaners more, it could be investing in a better CRM, whatever it is. Every investment you could be thinking of making for that business, write it down. And then put that water tank on that list and then figure out if that's the best investment you should be making at that time based off how much cash you have at hand. Also, a good rule of thumb is if your only limitation for not growing is a deionized water tank, that's a good indicator you should buy another one. Okay, now on to mistake number 2, and that's undervaluing technicians. This is a big one, so listen up. So referencing back to that first year when I started H2O Bros, how all I cared about was doing more sales, doing more revenue. I didn't even care about the service. I didn't care how we were cleaning windows. I didn't care about training technicians properly. All I cared about was getting the job done. Whatever we had to do to get the job done, to get paid, that's all I cared about. And sometimes we even had customers that were so unhappy that they wouldn't even pay us. And instead of fixing the root of that problem, which was training the technicians better, setting proper guidelines, SOPs, processes, all those sort of things with them, it was, let's just get more sales. Okay, people aren't paying, let's just get more sales. Okay, We don't have money. Okay, let's just get more sales. That was the fix to everything because that's all I knew. So when we were about to start service plans earlier this year in May, I knew that service had to change. I knew that we had to get technicians that knew how to actually clean windows up to the standard that we wanted so customers wouldn't cancel their contract. So what did I do? I hired a service manager, and basically his full responsibility was to take over the entire service side of the business. I didn't even put any guidelines, expectations, standards, processes in place for him to hit. It was more so hire a guy with experience in management, hire a guy with experience in window cleaning and pressure washing, and then say, here's the entire service side of the business. And I paid him a lot because all I cared about was making more money as quick as possible, not even thinking about what problems could arise. So as time progressed, things weren't really changing on the service side. If anything, they were getting worse. Technicians were quitting even quicker. Customers were even canceling their contracts, and it was a big old blow up. There was even one time where a technician showed up and did the completely wrong home. He didn't even confirm with the address. He didn't knock the customer's door and let him know that he's going to be started. He just showed up and got started. And then guess what happened? The service manager was quick to blame the technician for not checking. The technician was pissed because now he had to redo the home and do a home that never paid us. The customer was mad because we said their windows were clean when their windows weren't clean, and everything just blew up. It was a complete nightmare. And all that would be simply fixed with just setting guidelines and expectations and a process for these technicians to be successful. And then doubling down with my service manager and setting up accountability so that way he has all of our technicians up to the company standard. So all I cared about was just getting more sales. My mindset is, okay, if we can just get more sales, we'll be good and we'll grow and the company will have money and it'll be fine. We can deal with this. But I heard a quote from Alex Ramosi a couple weeks ago. He said that if you scale with bad systems, the faces are just gonna get angrier. And that's what was happening. Nothing was getting solved. It was just bigger problems. It was just more unhappy customers. It was just more technicians quitting. And it was a service manager that honestly felt pretty completely lost with how he can be successful. And I bet he probably felt that his job was on the line. And this was completely my fault. I didn't know what I was doing. There was no proper SOPs, guidelines, expectations, no accountability, nothing in place. Because again, all I cared about and all I knew was sales, sales, sales. More money would just solve all the issues, but it was just more money. It was causing more problems. And if we continued on this trend, might even get to the point where people just won't buy, no matter how good we sell them. So actually sales couldn't fix that. It could get that bad. And we were on that track. If I were to go back in time, this is what I would do from the get-go. I would set up the SOP that I have for all my technicians now. Set up proper guidelines before they're hired and have key performance indicators to track each week, each month to know that they're hitting company standard. So by setting out compensation structures to where if they do this, they get paid more. And it's simple things like 5-star reviews, referrals, cleaning a certain amount of revenue a day, no more than 1 go back a week. Just simple things for the technicians to be guided on so that way they know what to do every single day when they go out. And also they're incentivized to do these things by making more money. And then in terms of setting up guidelines and expectations for the service manager, it's working with him one-on-one when he's first getting hired and teaching him how he can teach the technicians to hit all these metrics. So that way, his job becomes on a week-to-week basis, okay, there's certain metrics that technicians need to be hitting. I just need to spend my week making sure the technicians aren't hitting what they need to be hitting. And if they're not, okay, that means we need to build out a better system for the technicians to hit. And by having these key performance indicators with the technicians, it tells us that if this person is the right fit, and if they're not, then it'll become apparent very, very quickly. I'll link down below the exact guidelines and KPIs that our technicians have to hit in a document below. Just click the link. And I'll also link the video on how to properly hire technicians. And that's on the ad side of things and the sales rep side of things, because those are the 2 ways you are going to get new customers into your business. On to mistake number 3, which is paying too much to acquire a customer. Whether that's from your door-to-door sales reps or from your ad spend. Those are the 2 ways that you're going to acquire new customers for your business. Door-to-door sales reps can get very expensive. For me, we ran blitzes. So what that meant is we would get guys from all over the country that would come and sell out here. And we had to house them. We had to front the cost of these Airbnbs. And some of them were upwards of $10,000. that we're adding to our monthly expenses. So you have to pay your sales reps a good commission if you want them to stay and actually produce. And then on top of that, what you have to do and what we did is daily incentives and weekly competitions and prizes for them to hit. The door-to-door sales culture is like a sports team. You have to motivate them with prizes. And then in the door-to-door sales industry, it's really common to have prizes. And these prizes cost money. So that's another expense added to it. And when you're scaling quickly, and again, all you're focused on is getting more sales, getting more sales, getting more sales reps out, you're not thinking about the housing, the incentives, the bonuses. You're just more looking at how much revenue are these guys selling a day. So I'll tell a quick story about the month that really opened my eyes to all this. Earlier this year in January, we did 120,000 in revenue, paid, service, and collected. And we had two blitzes. We had the first half of the month and the last half of the month. We had 9 sales reps the first one and then 11 sales reps on the second one. So we had a ton of sales reps out here and they were going out and selling. And housing was covered from us. We were paying them 30 to 40% commission sometimes. We paid them daily incentives. We did team dinners. We did team competitions. We went to Topgolf. We did all these extravagant things because I just wanted to keep them hungry and motivated, which would ultimately lead to more sales. But then February 1st came about and we did a little reflection, a little cost analysis on January. And we're like, whoa. After we did that cost analysis, we figured out that we profited, meaning that after paying the sales rep, after paying the technician, and that 120,000, we were profitable about 35,000. But our monthly expenses were well above that. Between software, the housing, the dinners, everything that I just talked about, we were actually negative on that month. It was our highest month in business. We thought we were rich, but then we looked at the bank account and we're like, where's all the money? And that is just a raw reality of business. It's just the cold, honest truth. It was a bad feeling, a really bad feeling, because it felt like we were doing everything, but then the result wasn't rewarded. So the sales, the more revenue could look good on paper, but do a cost analysis and figure out if you're actually making as much profit as you think. And most of the time, you're not. And we had a similar thing happen when we started running ads. We were getting a ton of leads, thought we were closing a lot of jobs, but when we looked at how much we were actually spending to how much we were actually closing and getting paid in our upfronts, it wasn't good. It wasn't good and it wasn't going to be sustainable. So you need to look at, and what that led to was us hiring a sales rep, because what we were finding was that we weren't able to call the leads as soon as they came in and leads were slipping through the cracks. So we had to hire a sales rep so that way we could have someone fully on the leads all day long. So when you start running ads, look at how much you're spending and then look at how much you're collecting. And then look at how much you're adding into your annual recurring revenue. Sometimes it might be okay to take a hit up front, but it's gonna pay off in the long run. But if we were doing one-time cleans, there would be no end at sight. And it would be very, very bad if we kept going on with it. On to last but not least, mistake number 4, which is no SOPs or no KPIs. SOPs is a standard operating procedure and KPIs are key performance indicators. Why SOPs are really important is because that establishes the exact process, usually on a document, for the employee to be successful. So for an example, like the guidelines that I have linked below, click the link, are everything that the technician needs to do when they show up at a job in order to deliver an amazing customer experience. Or sales script and sales process that we teach our sales reps going forward in order for them to close a high amount of these leads that come in from our ads. And these SOPs need to be very, very detailed. And ideally, you want to have situations that come up on a day-to-day basis, so that way whoever you're training will be prepared for whatever comes their way. What we're building out right now, our operator is dealing with all of our customer dilemmas right now. So if a customer calls in with a complaint, or if they need to reschedule, whatever is happening on the customer side of things, he's typing in the problem and then typing in the solution on a document. So that way, when he relinquishes and delegates those responsibilities onto someone else, they are going to have the exact SOP in order to be successful at that position. So in order to build a perfect SOP, you need to think about the desired outcome and how to exactly get that desired outcome. And then the step further is thinking about teaching the problem solving for that solution. Dan Martell uses this amazing framework. He calls it the 1-3-1. And that's one problem, 3 solutions, and then pick one and run with it. And if it doesn't work, try the second one. If that doesn't work, Try the third one. And when you're building all these out, you want to think about the crucial parts that make the business. So could be hiring cleaners, training a sales rep, training a cleaner on what to do when he shows up to the job, training a cleaner on how to actually properly clean the windows, training a cleaner on how to remove screens, training a cleaner on how to remove hard water spots. It allows your business to scale with just proven systems that work. Now on to KPIs, key performance indicators. And at each position, you should have them laid out. A lot of people think this is just sales oriented, but what I've learned is if you implement KPIs for your technicians, it is the difference. It allows them to have things they need to be doing to make more money, and the things that they need to be doing to make more money are usually things that go into a really good technician and deliver a good customer experience. So our 4 KPIs that we have with all of our technicians are 2 5-star reviews, 1 referral generated, cleaning 600 of revenue a day, and no more than 1 go back a week. Because if they do all these 4 things, the business grows, customers are happy, everything is synchronized. Some other KPIs we look at on the sales side of things is like our cost per lead for ads, our cost of acquiring a customer, our closing percentage, our average job tickets, and how many calls our sales rep is making on a day-to-day basis. And what all these things allow you to do is have things to track each week. It's very, very simple. I'll give you an example. So those 4 KPIs that I listed for our technicians, right? We're going to look at them on a week-to-week basis. So at the end of the week, let's just use Technician Joe for an example. Technician Joe hit 3 out of his 4 KPIs. Let's say he didn't get a 5-star review. Okay, why didn't he get a 5-star review? We're going to ask Joe, and Joe's going to say, oh, well, I didn't ask. Okay. Well, then that tells us that have we not trained Joe how to get 5-star reviews? Or if we did, then it's like, okay, here's the training. Make sure you read over that. Fix that for the next week. What's going to happen next week rolls around, and if Joe still didn't get that 5-star review, then it tells us that Joe isn't a good fit for this business. But it's important, right? You have to have the process built out that allows Joe to hit that certain KPI. So maybe you don't have to set up these SOPs from the beginning, but it's important that as you scale, you implement them. It's been the difference in my business because it makes it more efficient and more easy to scale. So these have been the 4 biggest mistakes that have happened in my business. And I promise you, if you're just starting out and you implement these today, you will be way ahead of me in just a few months. So I've helped over 100 window cleaning business owners scale their business. And if you want one-on-one help to your exact business, click the link down below. We'll schedule a call and see if it's a good fit. Otherwise, you know the drill. Like, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.